Hi friends! In today's demonstration, I'm going to share how you can use your clear blocks and ink pads to create beautiful backgrounds for your cards and projects. I've really been enjoying this technique and I think you will too, so let's get stamping. To start, I have 2 pieces of Whisper White cardstock. This is just one piece of 8.5 by 11 that I've cut in the middle at the 5.5 mark. So you could actually stamp a whole piece of cardstock, but I want to use different colors in this video just to show you the fun versatility of this technique. Now, because I am going to be using my blocks, I want to stamp on my foam paper piercing mat just to give that little extra cushion. And I'm just taking a piece of computer paper. I'm going to put it on top and put my Whisper White there. And I want to use my new 2020-2022 in color collection for this first one. They're so beautiful. So I'm going to put those aside. So the blocks that I'm going to use first are A, B, C. This one is block G and this one is block H. I also have block D. Not sure that I'm going to use this one for this first one, but I've got them handy. And then I just have some water in an old Stampin' Mist bottle. Okay, so I'm just inking up my block H with the bumblebee, and then I'm going to lightly mist it with water and stamp down. And just hold it for a moment and you'll actually see the water absorb into that cardstock. Okay, so now I'm going to do that again. Lightly mist with water. And I'm just going to go in random directions. And I'm just going to gradually cover this whole sheet. So there's a bit of white showing here. I'm not concerned about that because I'm going to overlap some of these blocks as I stamp them. Same with this little bit here. I could go right on top there. There we go. So I'm going to set that aside for now. If I want to, I can come back in with that block and color in a little bit. Now I'm moving on to my cinnamon cider. And I'm going to use block C for this one. This is going to be a very colorful background, but wait until you see what we do with this background. It's pretty amazing. So again, let it soak into that paper. And as I'm spritzing this, I'm actually spritzing some ink splatters onto this background. You know what? That's just fine. It's going to add to the design. I'm going to go off the page. Maybe another one. Actually, I'm going to cover in this little bit here. So you see why I wasn't concerned about that white that was left there. I'm going to move into my Magenta Madness next and use block B for this one. And now all I'm going to do is start filling in the gaps, and I'm overlapping a little bit as well. Okay, let's see. I think the next color I'm going to use will be Misty Moonlight. And I'm going to use block, what block is this? This is block G. So you're probably thinking this is a complete mess, but it's not. It's magic. So my next color is the Just Jade and my little A block, which isn't going to cover all of that in, all that white bit. So I can go back in with a different color afterwards. Let's just see how I make out with this first. And I'm going in different directions, so I'm just turning my block. This is such an easy way to get a colorful background. And, you know, this is fun for us adults, but it's also a fun way for kids to create backgrounds as well. Get them doing some fun crafts at home. I'm not sure where I'm going to put this one. I'm actually just going to overlap it right there just to add a little bit of different colors down in that corner. All right, so you can see that there's just a few gaps of white here and there. So I'm going to fill those in. I'm going to bring in the cinnamon cider again. And I'm going to use my bead block. And I think for this little corner, I'm also going to use the cinnamon cider, but I'm going to use my A block. There. And now I'm going to pull in my bumblebee, and I want a little bit of yellow in that corner. This is wet, so I'm going to set this aside to dry and do the same thing in a different color scheme. All right, so this one is going to be in reds and pinks. So I have petal pink, cherry cobbler, real red, flirty flamingo, and poppy parade. So I'm going to start with my real red, and I'm going to use my H block. And you know what I was just thinking that would also be cool is combining the two on the one block. So let's try that. So I've got my flirty flamingo. I'm going to clean my blocks. I'm just wiping it with a rag. And I'm going to stamp half of it into the flirty flamingo and the other half into the real red. And missed it. Where are we going to put it here? So that's going to give me a pretty two-tone, and I quite like that. And I'm going to come in with my D block, and this time I'm going to use cherry cobbler and petal pink. So exactly the same, inking up half, and you always want to start inking with your lighter color, of course, so you don't bring in some of that dark ink into the light ink pad. That would be bad. That would not be a good situation. All right, let's stamp this down. Look at fun how they blend. And again, don't be thinking I'm making a mess. Well, I am, but there's method behind the madness. You know what I mean. All right. And you want to clean that block before you go into those colors again. And let's go this way. And one more. So I'm wiping these clean because there's still a little bit of ink on there. Missed. And where do we want this one? We want this one here. All right. I am so excited because I know what stamp set I'm using with this one next. I'm not saying anything because I want to surprise you guys, but this is going to be beautiful, I think, because I haven't tried it. I'm experimenting. That one didn't show too much pink, but that's all right. We're going to still pull some more pink in. Now these ones I'm going to use solid colors. So while I still have my pink out, my petal pink, I'm going to go in with my G block. And my fingers are getting very inky. See, this is a bit more subtle, but that's all right. Subtle is good. See, it's still filling that in quite nicely. Go right there. And right here. Now the Poppy Parade is going to be beautiful because it's such a bright red. Let's go in with our A block. And I'm going to do one more right here. So I just randomly grabbed 3 blue ink pads. I'm using Misty Moonlight, Pacific Point, and Seaside Spray. So let's bring in some more paper, and I'm going to speed it up as I do exactly the same thing as what you've just been watching me do. Alright, I've decided I want to bring in another color because I want to use my A block. So I'm just gonna go ahead and bring in my Pool Party, and this is gonna add a little bit of a greenish blue. There's that one. Now what I'm gonna do is I wanna add some splatters, just for fun. If I can find my aqua painter. There we go. So, oh, look at my hands. Those are hands of a true artist, my friends. A true artist. Just kidding. But if you don't have inky fingers, you're not doing it right. Now, some people don't like inky fingers. You might want to use gloves, but the ink comes off pretty good. So I'm just squeezing and tapping. This is going to give me a really cool splatter effect. This is my favorite way to create. I love getting my hands dirty. I love creating abstract backgrounds. I love splattering. And you'll see that as that dries, I'm getting those splatter marks. Hopefully you can see that. Can you see that over here? So fun. All right, I'm gonna go wash my hands and clean up and start making cards. Okay, I'm back. I've washed my hands. They're not so bad anymore. And got some iced tea going in the Instant Pot. Gave my dog some belly rubs, and these are almost dry. So that's only been about 10 minutes, but they're almost dry. I want them completely dry. So I'm gonna zap them with my heat tool. Okay, so these are dry. And now I have some fun backgrounds to play with. So let's start with, we're gonna use different stamp sets for everyone too. So much fun. Okay, now the first one I'm gonna use for this very colorful one is the Today's Tile stamp set. Now I've done a video with this stamp set. I love it. And I've already made cards actually using this background with this color scheme and this stamp set. So I can tell you, before I have even finished this, it's beautiful. And I have made a lot of cards with this, so I've got this ink, or this stamp, pretty stained. Now I've pulled in my stamp Aretes, and I'm gonna just line this up at the corner, slap down my magnet, and I'm going to stamp this right there. And this is a brand new Memento ink pad. Whew, so glad I got this, because my old one is so old, so well loved, so well used that the fibers were starting to tear. So this is a nice brand new juicy ink pad. And you know, it's things like that that get me excited. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. Okay, we missed a little bit there. Let's push down. Look. You guys, this is going to be sensational. I'm going to do one more. So I'm going to slide this over this way. See how those beautiful colors come through. You'd never know you've got all these squares and rectangles, but it gives the coolest background. Gone ahead and done a few steps. This is the Whisper White card base. I trimmed this piece down to measure 4 1/4, and it's 2 1/4 this direction. So this is mounted on a piece of Whisper White that measures 4 1/4 by 2 1/2. Then I took this beautiful die, which I absolutely love. This is from the Fabulous Florals collection of dies. So it's part of the All Things Fabulous bundle. And I'm just gonna go ahead, this is basic black cardstock, and I'm just gonna cut this right in half. And then this is gonna give me 2 pretty borders. Take my Stampin' Seal. I need that to get a little bit closer to the edge. There we go. And now I am simply going to line this up. Let's do it over here so you can see what I'm doing. Just like that. And do the same thing with the other half. Okay, I'm going to put some more adhesive behind that just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere once I get it on my card. And this is going to go right on the front like so. Now I'm going to stamp my sentiment, which is also from the Today's Tiles set, and it says, "Thanks for being there when I needed you most." And I'm going to use my Magenta Madness for that. I'm just going to stamp it down right here. And then what I did is I took this stamp and I used Versamark and stamped it on a piece of Magenta Madness cardstock and embossed it in gold. And then I cut this out with the smallest layering square dies. This is going to go on the top of this layer. Get a dimensional for that. And I'm going to put that in this direction, right in the center. And I'm lining up the corners with these lines here and rhinestone. And I'm just going to give this a spritz of the Champagne Shimmer Mist Paint as well, so that this will all have that extra glimmer and shimmer. This is one of my favorite cards. I love this card. Recently had a card swap with my Serene Stamper team using products from our new annual catalog, and this is the card that I made for everybody that participated. And so you can see I've been using this background a lot. Okay, so for this card I'm using the Dove of Hope. So I'm taking this image right here, and on some Whisper White I'm going to ink this with my Pacific Point. Just stamp it down like so. And then I'm going to take my sentiment, which I'm going to use Peace on Earth, and I'm also going to ink that with Pacific Point right down here. So these are the dies that coordinate with the Dove of Hope stamp set. And not only do we have the dies that coordinate with the images, but we also have the wings and the body to create a beautiful dove. I am so excited about this whole collection here, the stamps and dies. But right now I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the image I just stamped. So here's my stamped image cut out with the die, and do you notice how much closer our dies are to the actual stamped image? There's not as much white space around them. So I'm loving the new dies and just how much closer they line up to the stamped images. And then this one I cut out with the smallest stitched rectangle die, which that image fits in there perfectly. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut this down to measure 3 3/4 by 5. And in this set, we have a cute little snowflake. So I want to emboss some white snowflakes on this piece. Now, I just had a thought, don't know how this is going to work, but I want to add the Peace, Joy, and Love on here just as a background. So I probably should have done this before I did the embossing, but I didn't think about it until now. So I'm just going to use my Versamark and see if we can get a tone on tone. So that is perfect. That's exactly what I was hoping for. So I'm going to put my card together. This piece of Whisper White measures 4 by 5 1/4, and of course the card when folded measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I'm using my Stampin' Seal Plus, reason being I need to get refill for my Stampin' Seal. So I'm just going to put some of this on. And before I put this piece on the card, I want to add some ribbon. So I'm just going to add some of our Whisper White crinkled seam binding. So first thing I'm going to do is add some adhesive behind this piece. So just put that right about there. my card. I'm going to put this on with some Stampin' Dimensionals. Okay, now I've got a little bow that I'm going to tuck on. Okay, and now we need to add our sentiments. I'm also going to put dimensionals on that. And that is going to go on right there. And I need a little bling, so I'm bringing in some rhinestone. You may notice I also have a rhinestone on my nails. I couldn't resist when I did my nails. I had to add a rhinestone. You know, doing Christmas cards, you gotta get in Christmas spirit. Have a little extra bling. And lastly, I'm gonna add some Champagne Shimmer Mist on this card. So this is Champagne Shimmer Mist paint mixed with 70% rubbing alcohol. Add a little bit of paper for inside the card, and then I can stamp that another time. Stamp my sentiment. No, let's go ahead and stamp the sentiment now. Why not? And I'm going to stamp it with my Pacific Point. May your season be filled with all the wonder and blessings of Christmas. Such a pretty sentiment. I have decided I want one more snowflake because the other snowflakes are kind of hidden. So I'm going to put one more snowflake on here. I'm just going to add another rhinestone, of course. Now the card is done. So for my next card with the poinsettia, I am going to use a piece of Designer Series paper from our new Poinsettia Place Designer Series paper. So I've already been digging into this and playing with it. I love this paper. It's gorgeous. Show you the background, and then the wood background, and the holly. I love that. This is stunning as well. The pine cones. This, let me bring in the dies here. These are the dies, and they're so much fun. So all you would do is you could either just cut out your one stamp, or you can put this in the center and it will give you the raised petal veins, which is so darn cool. And then this one coordinates with this stamp, but guess what? It also coordinates with the design right on the paper. And you see what I mean? Can you see how close that lines up to the images? Love it. All right, so that's the dies. There's leaves in there, there's berries, there's all kinds. Let's finish showing you the paper. This is garden green. So the colors are garden green and old olive and real red, bumblebee, and soft suede. So I've chosen this piece and I'm going to cut it down to measure 4 by 5 1/4. Now this specialty paper is phenomenal. This is our plush poinsettia specialty paper. It's vellum and it's got the really soft designs on it. It is unbelievable, you guys. So we've got the holly, we have the poinsettias, and then we have this beautiful intricate design. Just outstanding. And I'm going to cut this piece down, let's see. I'm going to cut it down at the 3-inch mark by 5. I'm only putting adhesive on half because that adhesive is going to show through a little bit. And I'm going to put it right in the center. So you get that frosted look, and of course you have that beautiful texture on there. And we need to add some ribbon. The ribbon I'm using is our beautiful faux suede trim in Early Espresso. So I've just cut it down pretty much to length and then just flagged that just a little bit. I'm going to take some tear and tape to put that on, I do believe. I'm only going to put it on the top half. Don't really need it on the bottom half. Now I'm taking a strip of our new Real Red 3/8 sheer ribbon. This is also in our new mini catalog. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to flag it. So I'm just folding it in half and just snipping it in a V. I'm just going to put some of our Stampin' Seal Plus on here and line that up. That's not quite straight. Let's straighten that a bit. And that's going to go next to my brown ribbon. So I have gone ahead and stacked my large and medium and small die cut petals right on top of each other. So now I have this beautiful poinsettia with all these gorgeous pinks and reds in them. So now I have put on some tear and tape, and I'm going to put this right onto my card just like so. So I cut these pieces out with my layering oval dies. I embossed the sentiment with gold, and I actually used the scallop oval on the outside and the straight cut on the inside because I like to stretch out my specialty cardstock. So I can save this for something else, and then I have the frame. Plus, it's very difficult to adhere Stampin' Dimensionals or adhesive on top of the glitter. So this way, when I put this on top, I'll have that space for my sentiment. Now we have some really fun bling. These are our new beaded pearls, which are also part of this poinsettia suite. There's 18 in here. They're absolutely gorgeous. And I'm going to apply that with glue dots in the middle of the flower. I'm going to put a couple glue dots on there. I don't want that to come off. Just going to tuck that right on. And I will stamp the inside later, but that is my card, and that beautiful shape background technique really adds a beautiful variety of colors to those flower petals. I just had the best time creating these, and I hope that you give this technique a try and that I've inspired you today. And I sure appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, especially if you stayed right to the end. Please give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and the little bell next to it to notify you every time I upload a new video. Have a great day and happy stamping.